Hey everyone, it's Liz, the Frugal Libertarian from frugallibertarian.com. This is the first video of a series for this week specifically that I wanted to do, which have to do with why Thanksgiving is a special week for us. Thanksgiving in our house is special for a very different reason, and that is because of my son. My son was born on Thanksgiving, and he's turning 2 this year. So Thanksgiving 2014. I wanted to do a series for this week. Now, I know a lot of people are doing stuff on food. A lot of people are doing stuff on the idea of thankfulness. I know some people are doing like the history of Thanksgiving kind of stuff. And while I think those are all really important topics, this week's series is actually going to be about what it's like when you go into preterm labor, what my birth experience was with my son, and what it's like to have a child in the NICU. And so there's going to be several parts to this. This is part 1. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, in this one, preterm labor and my birth experience. You have to understand something about me and my husband first. We got married very young and did not have kids until we'd been married 9 years. Our son wasn't born till we were married for 9 years. And a large part of that is when we got married, we said we didn't want kids. And then we changed our mind when one of my nieces was born and kind of said, okay, maybe we could try having a kid. The issue for us was we didn't know, with my medical condition, we didn't know if I could even get pregnant. So when I became pregnant, it was kind of a shock to everybody. And when I became pregnant, my doctor kind of said to me a couple of things. He said, first of all, we have no roadmap for your pregnancy, because we've never had anybody with your condition prior to pregnancy, and we really don't know what to expect, because my nerve that is damaged, he didn't know if it would work properly, he didn't know if it would cause additional problems, and he was very worried that it would cause, that labor and delivery vaginally would cause more problems. So that was the other thing he said to me was, you can try to deliver vaginally, but there is an 85% chance that you're going to be in labor, and you're going to be in labor, and at the very last minute, I'm going to say, no, this isn't working, and I'm going to throw you in for an emergency C-section, because I'm very concerned about damaging your nerve even more than it's already damaged. I'm worried about affecting it more. So he said, do you want to schedule a cesarean and just schedule it? And I said, yes. I figured 85% chance that I'm going to end up doing it anyway. Schedule it anyway. My son's actual due date was January 6th. The cesarean was scheduled for New Year's Eve. So everybody was kind of teasing me and saying, you're going to have a Christmas baby, you're going to have a Christmas baby. And my son was born on Thanksgiving. So I've been saying, no matter what, this kid was coming out on a holiday. There was no way to prevent it. He was coming out on a holiday. Basically everything had been going very well with my pregnancy. However, my doctor was always extremely hesitant with everything with me, because again, he didn't know if my nerve would function. I have pudendal neuralgia and technically entrapment, and the pudendal nerve is responsible for all of your reproductive functioning. So it was a big concern, was I going to be able to carry to term? Was the weight of the baby going to cause increased pain? Would my nerve just never go into labor because, it doesn't send signals to my brain correctly? I've been reading all the baby books week by week and month. When it came, I didn't read in advance because reading in advance freaked me out. So the night before Thanksgiving, I kind of said to my husband, I don't know if I could do this. I'm so freaked out. I don't know if I'm ready, all that kind of stuff. And my husband's kind of response was, well, you've got time. Don't worry about it. I'm sure by the time we actually get him here, you'll be okay with it. And then I went to bed. I got up at about 4:30 in the morning to pee, and my water broke. And I always say, I'm like, my son heard me saying how I wasn't ready yet. It was kind of like, screw you, Mom, I'm out of here. Because it was like a couple of hours before my water broke that I said that. I did not know that my water had broken. I had an idea, but I did not know for sure because, again, I hadn't read the birthing sections of the baby books, of the pregnancy books. So I basically ran to the bathroom and started shouting for my husband, and I was saying, I don't know if I just lost total, like, bodily function control, if I just lost bladder control, or if my water broke. Can you please look it up in one of the books? My husband grabbed the book that was for him on pregnancy, and there was nothing in it about water breaking. So ended up Googling it. Kind of freaked out at that point. Called my doctor's office. It turns out my doctor was the one already at the hospital from the practice. So he's basically saying to us, get here as soon as you can and we'll take a look at you and see what's going on and what our options are. So we kind of on our way out of the house called both of our parents and said, you know, we're going to the hospital. Looks like I might have gone into labor, but we don't know. We'll let you know when we get there. So we get there and my doctor examines and says, oh yeah, you're in labor. And, you know, and he said to me, if your water hadn't broken, I could have given you meds to keep you, you know, to stop your labor so that you could, the baby could keep gestating. However, there's too much of a risk of infection. So we kind of have to deliver him now. So of course I was freaking out. The benefit of my nerve problem, but possibly my nerve problem, or else the meds that I have to take for my nerve problem, was that labor was not bad for me at all. It was basically, you know that episode of Friends where Rachel goes into labor and she's in, you know, the labor room and they keep bringing in women and then they keep leaving and Rachel keeps staying. Well, there was this one Asian couple that comes in and the woman says, oh, you know, your contraction's not bad. Mine wasn't so bad. And then she kind of goes like, oh, that was bad. Like that kind of thing. That was basically me. And the woman that was in the room with me was like screaming and like, I gotta walk and all that. And I was basically like, hold my hand. Okay. That was it. In fact, actually the nurses, because I said, I'm like, okay, I have a contraction coming. And they looked at me and they go, you're not contracting. Because I wasn't reacting to it. And then they hooked up all the machines to my stomach and go, oh, you're in full-blown labor. We need to get your doctor in here now. My doctor came in and said, okay, we're going to put you in for the cesarean. And, you know, we got the blood work going. And he brought up to us the issue we were going to have was that there was a shift change. And if the blood work didn't come back fast enough, he couldn't do the delivery. And that's actually what ended up happening. Another doctor did the delivery. My family has a history of very, very quick labors. Very quick. My sister, with her first child, was 20 minutes. Her second child, 40 minutes. Hers was a combination of family, again, history of very quick labors, and then she also had fibroids, and I did not have fibroids. And that kind of speeds up your labor as well. My sister with her son barely made it to the hospital before he was delivered. And if you think that's a good thing, it's not. It basically, your body cannot adjust and gently let it out. It's like immediate pushing. Her whole face had broken capillaries. Her eyes were completely bloodshot. She looked like somebody punched her in the face because she had black eyes on top of it. So this was something I was kind of concerned with. I brought up to my doctor, like, if I go into preterm labor, are we going to have a problem? Because are we going to be able to get me into surgery in time before he is delivered? And my doctor had kind of been like, oh no, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. So I'm in the hospital, like I said, I'm in full-blown contracting labor. My doctor comes in and goes, okay, we got to do the ultrasound to see where his head is, because that's how they determine where they're going to do the incision, because it's better if they can do it by the head. So he goes and he goes, oh, well, that's odd. Where's his head? His head was almost out. So he went, okay, we really got to push this. And of course, we're trying to hurry, we're trying to hurry, we're trying to hurry. If you calculate the time, my son was born a little bit after 9, and I went into labor at 4:30. and he was about to be vaginally delivered if they had not intervened. So that's how quick my labor would have been. So my doctor had to leave because the shift change happened. He actually stayed an hour and a half past shift change before he left, and another doctor came in and took over for him, who I actually liked, that I had appointments with her at his practice, and she was really, really nice, and I really liked her. She actually died the day my son left the NICU. So that's kind of a sad, bittersweet kind of thing. But she was a very wonderful doctor, and I was very happy with her and what she did. I was rushed in for the emergency cesarean, and like I said, his head was almost out. My incision is like the lowest I've seen, and me and some family members have compared, and mine is always lower. And that's because he was almost done. So to get his head, they had to get basically into my bone to grab his head out. Cesareans are very violent and very brutal. If you watch videos of them on, like, you know, pregnancy related websites and stuff, and people, you know, they always do the same thing, which is they show you, okay, they're making the incision, oh, and here's the baby's delivered, and they pick the baby up, and the camera follows the baby, and they hand the baby to the mom, or they hand it to the dad, and then the camera stays with them there. They never tell you what goes on after that happens. And in our case, it was extra bad because I was completely alone in there. Because our son, when he was delivered, had to be rushed out of the delivery room to the NICU immediately. Like, I didn't get to hold him. I barely saw him. I turned my head, and the nurse ran him past me, paused for a fraction of a second, said, "Here he is," and then ran. And my husband went with him. My son's face was blue. He couldn't breathe. His lungs were not developed yet. So if I did not get to see him, actually, he was born at 9 a.m. I didn't see him for the first time, really see him, until 7:30 at night. And I kept asking all day, like, I want to see him, I want to see him, I want to see him, and I didn't get to see him till 7:30. I couldn't even, like, touching him, all you could do is kind of put your hand like that. And because his skin wasn't developed to handle, like, stroking sensations, so if you tried to, like, kind of just do that to him, he'd scream and cry. It was bad. The nurses said he had one of the worst tempers they had seen. Basically, anytime they interacted with him, he would just scream. It was pretty awful, and I'll go into that in the next video because I want to talk about that a little more. I actually did not have a lot of the things people have with them when they go have a baby because I hadn't been prepared and I didn't have a bag ready. So I literally threw stuff into a bag, and then when I got to the hospital after he was born, kind of went, uh-oh, I don't have a lot of stuff. So my husband had to come home and get stuff for me, and my mom had to bring stuff for me. And by the way, my doctor said we still don't know what caused me to go into premature labor. It's just one of those things. Sometimes the causes are very, very clear, and sometimes they're not. And with me, it's up in the air. It could have been my nerve malfunctioning. It could have been just that he was ready, but we'll never really know. So, you know, that's one of the things that's kind of hard. When it first happens, especially I think for moms, you tend to really blame yourself. You think you screwed up because this happened, and it's not really your fault. There's nothing you could do, especially, you know, in a case like mine. It wasn't like I went into labor and he wasn't ready. He was like out. So, you know, there's nothing you can really do, and you can't turn back time and change things to make it better. It was scary. I think it was probably made worse for me because I didn't really know what to expect. Because again, I'd watched a couple of cesarean videos, and again, they follow the baby. They don't really show you everything that happens. But that was my birth experience. That's what it was like to have a preterm baby with my condition and with everything involved. And yes, keep in mind that was Thanksgiving. My son was born at 9 a.m. on Thanksgiving, and our parents were at the hospital the whole time. My sister spent most of the day at the hospital. We had family come up throughout the day, friends come up, and then in the next day as well come up. Pretty much a lot of our family didn't get Thanksgivings because, well, they were at the hospital instead. And felt kind of bad about that. And then my son, which I'll talk about with the NICU video, but he came home December 22nd. So we also didn't get a Christmas because he couldn't leave the house. So we had no Thanksgiving, no Christmas, and then of course no New Year's, because what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna go? That's it. This is the first one. So I'm gonna put up the second one probably in the next couple of days. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, share your experiences. If you went into preterm labor, share them below. If you had a difficult labor, share it below. I am not the person, and I hope nobody that watches this are the people that would judge you based on these kinds of experiences. You know, life is what it is. I will talk to you soon. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Give a thumbs up if this is the kind of stuff you want to hear, and the next video will be coming up soon. Bye.